October 25, 1944, Philippine Sea, west of Leyte Gulf. The ocean is black glass under a moonless sky. Below the surface, 200 feet down, the steel hull of the American submarine USS Tang creaks like a living thing under pressure. Sweat beads on every forehead. The air smells of oil, battery acid, and men who haven't seen sunlight in days. At the center of it all stands Commander Richard H. O'Kane, calm, sharp-eyed, hands folded behind his back. Then, ping! The sound slices through the control room. Enemy sonar. Every man aboard freezes. Another ping, closer. The Japanese destroyers are hunting. Depth charge pattern incoming, the sonar operator whispers, voice tight. O'Kane doesn't flinch. Hold her steady, he says quietly. Above them, the first explosion hits. Woomph! The submarine shudders violently. Light bulbs flicker. Dust rains from overhead pipes. Somewhere forward, a wrench clatters to the deck. Then another blast. Boom! Closer. You can almost feel the ocean trying to crush the boat like a tin can. But inside the Tang, something unusual happens. O'Kane smiles. Not because he's reckless, because he's been here before. Just 8 months earlier, in December 1943, O'Kane had taken command of the newly commissioned USS Tang, one of the most aggressive submarines in the Pacific Fleet. From the beginning, his orders were simple: find the Japanese shipping lanes and break them. O'Kane was no ordinary submarine skipper. Before Tang, he'd served as executive officer under the legendary Commander Dudley Morton aboard the submarine USS Wahoo, a boat that had terrorized Japanese shipping across the Pacific. From Morton, O'Kane learned one brutal lesson: aggression wins underwater wars. And when he took command of Tang, he pushed that philosophy even further. No cautious stalking, no safe distances. He would hunt from the knife's edge. Back in the present, October 25, 1944. The destroyers above Tang are getting closer. Another string of depth charges detonates dangerously close. The lights flicker again. One sailor crosses himself. Another grips a pipe so hard his knuckles go white. But O'Kane, still calm, still calculating. Because what the Japanese don't know is that this submarine commander isn't running, he's waiting. Waiting for the exact moment to come back up and strike again. And before this night is over, 31 enemy ships will lie at the bottom of the Pacific. But first, USS Tang has to survive the hunt. The sonar operator suddenly stiffens. "Sir, destroyers pulling away." O'Kane's eyes narrow slightly. Interesting, very interesting. Because experienced hunters know when the enemy thinks you're dead, that's when you become most dangerous. He turns slowly toward the helm, and that faint, dangerous smile returns. Bring us up to periscope depth. Every man in the control room looks up. They're going back, back into the fight history. The Tang rises through the black water like a ghost. Ballast tanks vent in controlled bursts. The hull groans softly as pressure eases. Inside the control room, every man moves with the quiet precision of veterans who understand exactly how thin the line is between hunter and prey. Passing 120, Commander Richard O'Kane stands motionless beside the periscope, one hand resting lightly on the handle. Passing 90, the sonar room is tense. Surface contacts, multiple screws, bearing steady. The operator whispers. They're still out there. Good. O'Kane's voice is calm, almost conversational. Periscope depth? The tang steadies at 60 feet. He lowers the scope. For a moment, nothing. Just darkness. Then the lens breaks the surface. O'Kane rotates slowly, and what he sees makes his jaw tighten with cold satisfaction. The convoy is in chaos. Ships are zigzagging blindly. One tanker burns fiercely, lighting the sea with a flickering orange glow. Escort destroyers prowl nervously, but their search pattern is sloppy now, reactive, not coordinated. They think the submarine has been driven off. They think the danger has passed. They are wrong. Very wrong. O'Kane's voice is calm, almost conversational. Khan, I have multiple targets. This convoy is still ripe. A quiet ripple of energy moves through the control room. The crew knows that tone. It means they're going back in. Inside the forward torpedo room, sailors wrestle another Mark 18 torpedo into position. Sweat drips onto the deck plates as the heavy weapon slides home with a metallic clunk. These aren't perfect weapons. In fact, the Mark 18 electric torpedoes have a reputation. They're quiet, but sometimes unreliable, sometimes unpredictable, sometimes deadly to both sides. But tonight, they're all Tang has. Back at the periscope, O'Kane begins his approach. Come left, steady on course 210. The Tang turns smoothly. Outside, the burning tanker throws long, dancing shadows across the waves. Perfect cover, perfect chaos. Exactly the kind of battlefield O'Kane thrives in. You can almost feel the tension building inside the steel hull. Every man knows they're about to do something bold, something dangerous, something that will either make history or end them. Minutes crawl by. Range closes. Through the periscope, fat silhouettes grow larger. Another transport, another tanker, another chance to cripple Japan's lifeline to the Philippines. Range 1,200 yards, the fire controlman reports. O'Kane doesn't hesitate. Open outer doors. Metal grinds softly. Set depth, 10 feet. The crew works fast, precise, deadly calm. Outside, one Japanese escort begins turning slowly, almost as if it senses something. But it's too late. Fire 1. The submarine jolts. Fire 2. Another shudder. Fire 3. 3 electric torpedoes race silently through the black water. Inside Tang, the crew counts under their breath. 1, 2, 3. Then, plash. The first transport erupts in a violent fireball. Boom! A second explosion tears through the convoy. Men in the control room grin despite themselves. But O'Kane raises his hand again. Still not finished. Japanese escorts are reacting faster now. Searchlights stab across the water. One destroyer begins charging straight towards Tang's last firing position. The hunt is back on, and this time the enemy is wide awake. Dive! Dive! Klaxons blare. The Tang angles downward sharply as ballast floods. Take her to 300 feet. The boat plunges into the darkness once more. Above them, screws thunder across the ocean surface. The destroyers are furious now, methodical, determined. The first depth charge string drops. Whoomp! The explosion slams into Tang like a giant hammer. A gauge shatters. Someone stumbles. Another blast. Kraboom! The hull vibrates violently. For a moment, even the seasoned crew feels it. This is getting close. Too close. But in the middle of the chaos, O'Kane is already planning the next strike.
because he knows something most commanders don't. Japanese convoy doctrine is predictable under pressure. They chase, they cluster, they expose themselves. And if Tang can just survive this barrage, there's an even bigger opportunity waiting above. The sonar operator suddenly looks up, eyes wide. "Sir, hearing multiple large screws regrouping." O'Kane's head tilts slightly. The convoy is reforming, exactly as expected. The dangerous smile returns. "Helm?" He pauses just long enough for every man nearby to lean in. "Prepare to come back up." Around him, exhausted sailors exchange stunned glances. They just survived a depth charge attack. Most submarine captains would slip away into the night. Not Richard O'Kane, not the Tang. They're going back into the fire. And before this patrol ends, the Pacific will witness one of the most devastating submarine attacks of World War II. But first, they must make one more approach through a wall of steel, sonar, and explosives. And this time, there will be no margin for error.
The sea above is alive with engines. Japanese destroyers curve tight circles around the shattered convoy. Burning oil drifts across the waves. Survivors cling to wreckage in the dark. And beneath it all, USS Tang begins to rise again. Passing 180 feet, the hull bears fresh scars now. Minor leaks have been contained. The air is thicker, hotter. Every man is running on adrenaline. Commander Richard H. O'Kane hasn't slept, hasn't blinked much either. "Periscope depth," he orders. The submarine steadies. He lifts the scope. And what he sees confirms it. The convoy is crippled, but not destroyed, not yet. Large transports still limp forward. Escorts are scattered, distracted by rescue operations and burning ships. It's chaos, and chaos is opportunity. Bring us ahead slow. Tang glides forward at barely a whisper. Forward torpedo room reports ready. This will be the final attack of the patrol, the final blow. O'Kane lines up on a massive transport silhouetted against the glow of burning fuel. Range 900 yards. Closer than most submarine commanders would dare. Too close for comfort. But O'Kane has built his reputation on doing what others won't. Open outer doors. A metallic echo rolls through the hull. Fire! The last forward torpedo streaks away. The seconds stretch painfully long. Then, a massive detonation. The transport's midsection erupts in flame, breaking its back. Cheers explode inside Tang. But O'Kane's eyes narrow. He's not celebrating, he's calculating, because that was their last forward shot. Only one torpedo remains, loaded aft, and one more target looms in the periscope. A destroyer, aggressive, closing fast. "Enemy escort bearing down," the lookout whispers. The destroyer's bow wave cuts straight towards Tang's estimated position. They've been spotted. There's no time to dive deep, no time for complex maneuvers. O'Kane makes a split-second decision. Hard right rudder. Tang pivots sharply. "Prepare aft tube." Men scramble in the rear torpedo room. The submarine is turning broadside to the charging destroyer. It's a dangerous angle, but it's the only one that gives them a shot. Range 800 yards and closing fast. The destroyer's searchlight snaps on. White light rakes across the ocean. For a split second, it touches the periscope feather. They've seen it. Fire aft! The final torpedo launches. Inside Tang, every man holds his breath. The destroyer is almost on top of them. If the torpedo misses, there will be no second chance. 5 seconds, 10, 15, then a massive explosion tears through the destroyer's hull. The ship lifts violently, then breaks apart in a tower of fire and spray. Shock waves ripple across the surface. Inside Tang, stunned silence hangs for half a heartbeat. Then the control room erupts. They did it! Dive! Dive! Tang angles down once more, but this time there's no counterattack, no organized pursuit. The convoy is shattered. Escorts are burning or sinking. The sea above is a graveyard of twisted steel and fire. By the end of this patrol, USS Tang will be credited with sinking or damaging ships totaling over 90,000 tons. Across her war patrols, she would account for 31 enemy ships, making her one of the most successful American submarines of World War II. Commander Richard O'Kane would later receive the Medal of Honor for his extraordinary leadership and relentless aggression in the Pacific. But on this night, there are no medals, no ceremonies, just exhausted sailors sitting in dim red light, breathing, alive. The ocean slowly grows quiet again. Burning fuel flickers out in the distance, and far below the surface, a battered American submarine slips silently into the darkness. Mission complete, Hunter victorious. And somewhere above, drifting in the smoke and wreckage, the Pacific remembers the night a submarine they tried to bomb into oblivion surfaced smiling and annihilated everything in its path.